hot take, Elden Ring is overrated. Well, Elden Ring is like more popular than God, so I think it has to be overrated. I would say it is to an extent as well. Replaying the 3 Dark Souls games, Soul Level 1, has definitely given me an appreciation for all the stuff that's been left behind in Elden Ring. You know what the one thing that I miss the most is? They only did this in Dark Souls 1. Like, this wasn't the case in Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2 and 3, Sekiro, or Elden Ring. And it's that in Dark Souls 1, because you couldn't warp from the beginning of the game, you actually had to, like, learn the area that you were in. I miss that. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, Legacy dungeons in Elden Ring didn't allow you to warp to other bonfires within itself, and you had to, like, travel around this big area rather than just follow a linear path through? I don't know, man. Like, I didn't realize how much I valued it. One of the things that really made Dark Souls 1 feel real, like the areas felt like actual, like, meaningful places rather than just, like, linear checkpoints, is that they usually had a broader, more expansive component that you could kind of wander around. And after you knew the area really well, you could basically just beeline your way through it super quickly. But you also had to make your way back through it both ways. You don't have to do that in any other game. In Dark Souls 2 and 3 and in the Legacy dungeons in Elden Ring, for the most part, you make your way through an area in one direction. Like the boy band. You make it through in one direction. Which means that functionally, the level only ever has to be like a slip and slide down to your desired location. But in Dark Souls 1, like, think of Undeadburg. You make your way through that area so many times. Light Town, the depths, you make it around. Couldn't that get annoying? No, because the brilliant thing was, and this is tied to player limitations, okay? Oh, fuck. This is like a whole rant that I have that I want to save for, like, my big video. I'll just say this, okay? In the first and second Dark Souls games, with varying levels of success, no, to the third one as well, like, in the Dark Souls games, you are capable of getting killed very, very quickly if you make your way through an area stupidly, and capable of making your way through an area very quickly if you go through it smartly, intelligently. In Elden Ring, there's no difference because you're riding torrent the entire time. And even in the Legacy dungeons, you basically just make your way through the linear path without many shortcuts, unless, like, there are a couple of roofs you can jump down or whatever in, like, Volcano Manor. But, how do I put this? There's so much more player fidelity in Elden Ring. The enemies don't know how to deal with it. In Dark Souls 1, the enemies knew how to deal with you, and as a product of that, like, learning your way around their AI to get through an area quickly felt really satisfying in a way that isn't necessarily the case elsewhere. I don't know. Okay, can I just say one thing? Now that I'm playing the earlier games, there is one thing about Elden Ring that's bugging me a little bit. Isn't it a little bit strange how the enemies in Elden Ring aren't undead? Like, in Dark Souls, basically everything you fight is undead. You know, sometimes it's a beast, but for the most part you fight undead. They act like undead, so it makes sense that they only ever go rah and, like, attack you kind of dumbly, like they'll stare at you from a distance. They're hollows, they're undead. But in Elden Ring, you're fighting humans. I don't understand why everyone still looks and acts like they're hollows. Like, in Stormvale Castle, when you're making your way to Godric, the knights that you fight are supposed to be regular humans. Not feral, fully intelligent. Like, like, in theory, they have shifts. Like, they talk with each other, and they go to bed at night. In Dark Souls, that's not the case. They're hollows. They're just undead. They're just there. No, Dusty Poncho, from everything that I've seen in the lore, those guys should be able, they should be, like, cogent, you know? Like they should have people they love. They should have houses. And it goes a long way towards making they lost their minds. All of them? Aren't they insane from being reincarnated so many times? Okay, is it expressed in the lore in a way that I haven't seen that all creatures have been driven mad by the shattering? I know they can't die, but I thought they were rebirthed by the Erd Tree. And that process of rebirth allows them... Because you do talk with non-crazy entities in Elden Ring. Some of the Empyrean are still, like, cogent, you know, and the NPCs, of course, can talk, the merchants and everything. I didn't know they'd gone crazy. Like, they should be able to talk, right? Shouldn't they be able to talk? Most haven't retained their minds. Okay, maybe. There's just some stuff, you know? Like, for instance, in Stormvale Castle, you have a gate guard. Remember? He's the guy who says we have the other way you can go and he steals your runes. He can talk. Clearly he's a bit mad. But he can talk and think. He's an independent person. Godric can talk and think, even though he's a bit mad. You know, Morgott seems fully sane, if a bit spiteful. So how many people are mad, then? Do any of those guards go to sleep? Like, do any of them... He's implied to be Godric's son? No, I get that, but I mean, like, they can talk. The Hollows in Dark Souls can't talk. They can't think. All the humanoid enemies that you fight in the Dark Souls games are hollowed, unless they're an NPC and talk to you specifically. And the NPCs are usually undead who simply haven't hollowed yet. Are there like guards in Stormvale Castle that are just like hooking up? Like, because they're just like chilling? It's the same with Elden Ring? Okay. Okay, I could be wrong on this. What about Volcano Manor? You know, clearly there are some cogent, some thinking. Well, I guess that would explain why the Tarnished are sane, right? Because they were banished from the lands between, and therefore they haven't been subject to the reincarnation of the Erd Tree. The Tarnished who come back with Godfrey have never died, right? Like, the Tarnished have been gone for hundreds of years. They just didn't die. Everyone who came back was strong enough to make it back to the lands between without dying once. They died once? What, at the beginning? Fulgurate. Look at the Wandering Noble's description. Abandoning their birthplace after the shattering, these undead beings are a pitiful product of unending life. They're most commonly found struggling to maintain balance while roaming the fields of the lands between. Surely they were in search of something once, but whatever it was has been long forgotten. Okay, no. Okay, I was completely wrong then. So they're functionally hollows. They're just hollows that are a product of the siphoning of the Erd Tree and the cycle of destined death being ended, rather than... So wait, this is just Dark Souls again. So Marika is just Gwyn, and the first sin was Marika having the rune of destined death removed from the Elden Ring instead... Miyazaki! You're seriously shocked? I didn't put that bit together. Can we just agree that Godfrey is the coolest guy? I don't know why everyone simps over Radon when we barely get anything of him. Like, Radon... Yeah, Horlu, yeah. Like Radon is literally just like, oh yeah, well, the lore, he's like huge and like, dude, Wholesome 100, the lore says that he learned gravity magic to not flatten his horse when he got super big. Dude, he was like a big warlord. He was so big and cool and more gentle than you'd think. But like, all you ever see of him is him like roaring in a cutscene, in the lore cutscene, and then he gets stabbed and he gets fucking bombarded with cancer. AIDS cancer. Cancer AIDS, you know? Blade is the only man who matters. Spoken like someone who wants to be gangbanged by werewolves. No, the only man who matters here is fucking Godfrey. Godfrey the Giga Chad. There's literally nobody. There's nobody in all of the From Software games that's more of a Giga Chad than Godfrey. Literally, who else comes close? I'm actually asking. I genuinely want to know if anybody here thinks any other entity comes close to Godfrey. Like, seriously. Like, if I have him down correctly, if I fully understand here, Marika was an Empyrean, or a chosen candidate to become a god from the greater will, one of the outer gods. And she was like, all right, I'm god now. We're taking over the Erd Tree with the greater will. Thank you. But we need a lord to wage war. and they found a human, and he tapped the gussy, the god pussy, and fathered children in a goom, in a god womb. He survived fucking America. Look, and I assume looked like this. He was a warrior from a barbarian tribe, but he was so strong that America wanted him as her lord. But he was so violent that she was like, "Hey, you're like way the fuck too aggro. Like way like you can't be a lord like this. You can't do that, okay? You need to chill out." So he has a spirit beast who reminds him to not be violent. Like the spirit beast is, and funnily enough, this is literally a narrative about colonization, by the way, because America is literally an envoy of a colonizing outer god, and he was indigenous to the lands between. He had a name, Horlu, but he was told to adopt a stately personage with a stately name, so he adopted Godfrey, and the beast, his fucking stand, was set upon him so that he would be less violent. And then he went and kicked everybody's ass at war. And then after like wrestling a 5 million foot giant to the ground, he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm good. Like that, we did war, but we're done with war now, and now I'm bored." So America was like, "All right, I'm sending you out to the greater out there. I'm sending you out there to go wage war in my name in other continents. Go forth." And then he did. And he never died. And then he came back, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go continue fucking my wife, by the way." He shows up right when the fucking Tarnish shows up. He's like putting a cloak over Morgoth. And he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm here to fuck my wife. You're gonna have to get out of here now." He's so cool. And then when you're like stronger than he thinks, he's like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna have to eat my lion, ? And turn into a lucha libre wrestler. And all my moves will now be suplexes." Okay. Wait, isn't there just a village of sentient jars? Aren't they just chilling and regular people? Yeah, funnily enough, the most consistent, like, conscious beings you see in Elden Ring are the Empyreans, the gods, and the jar people. You do see some jar people mercenaries, but I don't know, it's kind of impossible to know if they're, like, hollowed, or if they're just mercenaries and they're just fighting you because they're mercenaries. You know? I don't know. It makes you wonder if the jar people were only capable of existing after the Rune of Destined Death was banished from the Elden Ring. Because maybe only the state of undeath everything lives in allows for them to siphon the power of the warriors they cram into their vessels. Wow, this got off topic. Hold on. Sorry to repeat, but plenty of enemies do talk. You can hear worshippers of Agil, the screams of those in the crucifixes. Well, yeah, the bosses talk to you, but the bosses usually talk to you because they're strong, right? You know, the strength precedes their sanity, at least to an extent. You know, funnily enough, the area that I ended up being most interested in on all of the replays that I've done of Dark Souls was the Undead settlement of Dark Souls 3. It's actually kind of cool, you know? Like, it's a bunch of hollowed and semi-hollowed undead who are like chilling there, and there are so many of them that they're like entrapping the hollows in these cages so they won't rise again, like they keep doing over and over. And what's more, the preachers at the Undead settlement are one of the only NPCs that have consistent, legible voice lines. Legible, determinable, like, you know, understandable voice lines. Something like the bastard's curse, come to me, when they do that fire hug of theirs. And you see them preaching. Intelligible, thank you. And I think the implication is that the Undead settlement is a place where the undead who have almost hollowed come to find religious meaning in their coming state of hollowness. Like to hold on as long as they can. Because they don't act like hollows do in other areas. They have patrol routes. They stand in groups listening to the preacher. The preachers are... yeah. Anyway...